Welcome to Louisiana Sisterhood Book Club. And this book club is founded by Catherine Taylor Bowers. And I'm your host today. I'm Betty Allen. And we have special guests on our show today. And guess what? Catherine Taylor Bowers herself is in the studio with us today. And we're so happy to have her. And our special guest is none other than Diana Cook Thomas. She's our special guest today. Welcome, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
I'm so glad that you came. We're so happy to have you here. And you know why she's our special guest today? It's because she has authored a book, I Can't See the Azaleas, Crimes Against Women and Children. But that's not the only reason why she's our special guest today. She's our special guest because she's a female Shreveport police officer of 12 long years. And we're going to be discussing her book today. And we're so happy that she's here. And guess what? Without further ado, we're going to talk with her. And guess what? The first question is, why would you want to write a book on crime against women and children?
Well, Betty, when I first wrote the book, I had been on the department for 12 years, and I saw where women were victims of all sorts of crimes, and I just felt led to give them the knowledge that I know that will help them, that will make them safe, make their children safe. And now that years have passed, of course, I ended up doing 23 years on the department and have been retired for about 4 years. And I see that not a lot has changed as far as domestic violence, child abuse, and now we can even incorporate sexual assault, sexual harassment. And so that just sparked me to go on and do something about it.
So you felt it was your moral obligation and moral duty to make the community aware and readers aware that there is this silent abuse out there that women and children are going through.
Not only did I want to make the community aware, I wanted the world to know that these types of behaviors are unacceptable. Right. Even in the sexual harassment community, it is a crime when your boss, your friend, or whoever touches any part of your body, whether they walk up to you and put their tongue down their mouth, or whether they touch you in an inappropriate way. That's what would constitute a battery. And they should be charged for doing such things to women. Most women just want to go to work, do their 8 hours, and not be bothered with somebody putting something over your head like, well, if you don't have sex with me, you can't get this position, or if you do have sex, I can promote you. You know, we really don't want that type of behavior. We want to do our job, get promoted accordingly, and just go home and be happy to our family.
Right, not has to be hassled.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. So the year that you wrote the book, it needed to be spotlighted and brought to the forefront. And what year was that?
That was around 2003, 4, 5-ish.
Okay, so with the spotlight being brought then, around 2003, 4, or 5-ish, it needs to be brought back to the forefront. That's why you're here today, to voice that forefront out there, because it's in the local news. It's coming across our television stations every evening when we come home from work.
Exactly.
It's being voiced. Someone else has abused another woman, another child, and that's why it's so exciting about you bringing that to the forefront now, bringing the sunlight on it. Mm-hmm. And so with that being our local news today, it's almost more like it's a class action suit, because so far it's been like 15 or 20.
Right.
And it's just like every evening it's the new one.
Someone new
Yes.
that have abused a woman in some type of way, have abused a child in some type of way. And women have been unspoken for years, But lately, now that they really realize that they don't have to put up with that, they're coming to the forefront and holding people accountable for the actions that somebody has done to them.
And it's almost like the younger generation is saying this is not acceptable.
Exactly.
Because before now, they kind of kept quiet.
That's true.
Yes.
That's very true.
Yes.
But almost every day, not every day, at least every 2 weeks, we're hearing that a child has died by the hands of another. It's gotten better because the community, they're more educated in what to look for. The schools report it. The professional people, the doctors, they're very good at reporting whether a child has a bruise or black eye, to at least let law enforcement investigate it and find out what is going on in this home. And women should be cognizant of who they allow over their children.
Exactly.
Whether they're your boyfriend or stepdad, they really need to be very cognizant of who babysits their children.
That's for
Exactly.
sure. Because you never know what's going on behind the scenes with them.
And it could be a relative. It could be an uncle, your brother. It could be your father. It could be the dad themselves. They need to be mindful of what's going on. They need to look for the signs of what their children are saying. And the perpetrators are so slick now that they say, well, this is our secret. Don't tell anybody. Well, as a parent, I'm telling you, talk to your child in a level that they can understand and say, look, I know you might have secrets. Let's discuss some secrets. It's okay. You can tell me. I'm your mom. Let that child open up. You'll be surprised what that child will tell you.
Exactly.
And you know, sometimes I cringe when I hear these young ladies run away from home. Because, you know, really, why is she running away from home? You know, what happened to make her want to leave home?
Exactly.
I think about that sometimes. And then my heart goes out to, I hope she knows it may have been better to stay home than to get out on the street with all the sex trafficking going on.
Exactly. And you speak about this in your book. And tell us, why did you choose that title, I Cannot See the Azaleas?
Because once you are abused, once you are raped, once you are deceased, you cannot see all of God's glory, all the beauty that God has for us to see. Because if you're still alive and that's taken away from you, you are not the same. Nothing looks the same. You're not happy as you used to be because that person has really destroyed your inner being. So I said the azaleas are the most prettiest flowers that God has given us to look at. And if you are sad, unhappy, deceased, you cannot enjoy God's beauty that He's given unto us.
And you know, it says in the Bible, God has given us as a gift. And He created us special. He created us so special that He had to put Adam to sleep. And He was the one who did the surgery. He went into the side and got the rib. And you know one thing? We're a bone of His bone. We're made specially for Him. We were shapen and fashioned just for Him. Not for Him to abuse us, but to accept us as His soulmate. You know, and so that's why it's so important when in your book you tell us about the abuse, and these are true life stories that's in your book.
They definitely are.
And they're just eye-opening because you wouldn't believe that family members would do this to their family, and you bring that out so beautifully in your book.
There's not a story that when you read this book that you wouldn't say, oh my goodness, I can't believe that happened to that lady, that happened to that child. Yes. A child being held down in the ant bed, a child that's tongue had been burned with a hot oil spoon, a child that's hair been pulled out of their head, a child that's starved to death. You would be very surprised what goes on and not know, the story that these ladies had told me.
But I'd like to say, in our communities, there is so much healing that's needed. That's one of the problems. They're carrying all this anger inside of them, and the children or the mother, they're the closest ones to them that they'll abuse.
Exactly. And most women work, they have to work. You have a lot of single parent homes, and they're doing the best that they can, and they are allowing different people to babysit their children because they can't afford the daycare. And but if you're going to be a mother and a career lady, you have to be a strong one. You have to go to work and be good on your job, but you can't be slack when you go home. You have to be strong, and you have to listen to your children, prepare for their next day for school or whatever. But you can't just go home and just go to bed and say, talk to me tomorrow. You have to listen to their cries.
You know one thing, listening to the cry. That brings us to our commercial break. And you know one thing, you stay tuned because we will be right back after this break.
In 93 hours, the Mahoney's oven will burn out.
Did you hear that?
Wait, isn't that the day?
Yes, the day of the chili cheese bake-a-thon.
No.
Months of undercooked dinners were trying to tell them they need Sears.
Sears.
They're #1 in appliance service and carry the top 10 brands, including the Kenmore Elite with true convection for even baking. Just what their chili cheese dish needs. Even if Mr. Mahoney prefers Mrs. Smith's chili cheese.
Wait, what?
I didn't hear nothing.
I love rock.
And I love cola.
I love your cola.
And I love your rum.
And all I want is a rock and roll with me. I love rock and cola. Rock and roll and I shit cola. I love rock and cola. Rock and roll and I shit cola. I love rock and cola. Rock and roll and I shit cola.
Welcome back to Louisiana Sisterhood Book Club. As you know, when we had to leave off, we were in a heated discussion about mothers listening to their children and asking them, what went on in your day today? Tell me about your day. Tell me about your secrets. And Diana Cook Thomas was telling us that we definitely need to stay tuned with our children. And Ms. Thomas, with that in mind, tell us the 4 things that you want your readers and the community to get out of your book.
Well, the first thing they can get out of the book is this book covers all walks of life. Whether you're rich, you're poor, black or white, young or old, it touches all bases. So all women can share with their families what they've learned in this book.
That is great. So this book is almost like a guide for us. If we get this book and we read this book, it will tell us how to sit at the dinner table and talk with our children and say, well, how did you play on the ground today? Did any of the teachers come over and touch you in an appropriate way? Or did some of the other students, talk to you about what's going on in their home or inappropriateness is happening with them? So if we read this book, these are the kind of guidelines that we'll get. And we'll also be awakening unto the domestic violence that's in the home. Because usually violence starts in the home. The secret abuse starts in the home and then it spreads outward.
That's correct. Domestic violence has been around for a long time. But through education, through reporting to law enforcement, things have gotten better, but yet and still, we still have the problem.
Yes.
So read the book and know the steps. Know that you're a victim, because a lot of women don't feel that they're victims because they think, well, this is my husband or this is my boyfriend and he choked a cat, say for instance. Well, that's a sign.
Yes.
If he starts throwing things around the house, destroying chairs and lamps, that's a sign that something is bothering him and she may be next.
Yes.
Some anger issues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'd like to say, in reading your book, it's like you give the reader examples of situations or scenarios to stay out of. That's one thing I liked about it. You kind of let them read this, and maybe if somebody's in that situation, they'll see, wow, this is my situation. I may want to take a better look at this, you know?
That's exactly right. And that helps them to avoid a lot of heartaches and pains and brokenness and just, sometimes it may even avoid divorce, because if you can sit down with your mate and say, look, I see where this is going and I don't want it to get to this point. You need to change or I need to change.
Exactly.
And when I change, I'm gone.
And the most of it is that you may be saving your life.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Speaking of saving lives, you know, as a woman, you talk about when a woman receives abuse in her home, even at the hand of her husband, or even at the hand of another family member, and she has children in that home, that child is exposed to that abuse.
Exactly right.
And so if this person is ill enough, because it's like a sickness, if they're ill enough to, you know, do this abuse to an adult, imagine what they're going to do to a child.
Exactly.
And usually if they start with one individual, it will always go to the children.
It does.
And so it's best to stop it.
It is, because even with that in effect, there's a cycle.
Yes.
Because now the child will grow up and think that, well, it's okay that my spouse beat on me or hit me or choke the cat or tear up the furniture, because my dad or my mom went through that. So it's okay.
Right, it's
But it's
normal.
not okay. It's not normal, and you have to break that silence. And you have to break that cycle of violence. Because if you don't break it, you will have more trouble along the line in the future.
Now, we spoke about your book as being a guide. What women can actually read this book and find out, is anything in this book similar in my life, similar in my home? So tell us, where can we locate your book?
You can go to Amazon.com and look up I Can't See the Azaleas by Diana Cook Thomas. I'm a retired police officer, and trust me, I have seen violence that you would never know of. And so a lot of detectives have come to me and said, Diana, put this story in your book, because this happened, and I think that woman needs to know. Several detectives have helped me put some stories together of the worst possible scenario, and some of them are not bad scenarios. Maybe lives were saved, but the handwriting was on the wall. But Amazon.com is where you can find a copy of the book.
Okay, so, but also tell us if you're available, let's say for a church organization, if they're having a women's organization or group meeting, and they want to educate the young women as well as the old women and the children about domestic violence, which comes out in the month of October, will you be available to speak?
Yes, I will. You can email me at diannat711@aol.com and let me know your wishes and desires, and I'd be more than happy to speak with any age group. I will put in biblical scriptures and we'll just have a good time.
That sounds wonderful.
That's great.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. And you know, with the month of October being the domestic violence month for us, with this spotlight you're doing today, do you think that we need to spotlight this more than just for the month of October, or is this spotlighting for something for prevention of every day?
Well, the month of October is a good month, and the way it's set up, it does bring awareness. I think if you spotlight something every single day, people will become too immune to it, and it'll go in one ear and go out the other. There needs to be an awareness. It needs to be spot checked and just have the whole month as an awareness, just so people can, you know, have it on their mind. But to do it all the time, I think people will turn it off.
Now,
Ms. Stevens, do you think it would be a good idea, like for the month of October maybe, to do a vigil for a lot of the domestic abuse victims to bring awareness? They do some type of campaign like that in New Orleans where you can actually see with the candlelights the number of people who died, you know?
yes.
They do that here, and they also have pictures of the victim. And some women have their loved ones' photograph on their T-shirts. And they meet at the courthouse, and it's on the news. And they do have visuals, but I think if you do a visual once or twice a month, wouldn't be too much. Because, as you see, we lose someone to violence very often in these days and times, whether a child or a female. You know, every time you turn on the news, just about somebody's being abused.
And I guess we don't want to really just focus all on the females, because males are getting murdered too.
That's true.
That's a
That's true.
bad
It
thing
doesn't
there, too.
happen often, but it does happen.
That will bring us to our next commercial. We have to pay the bills. But in this commercial, I want to remind you that, remember Miss Lisa Locke from last week? Her new book is coming out in 2018, See Yourself. And she speaks about women needing to make aware that they actually see themselves so that they will not become victims. Hey, stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Alanetta. Listen to the Alanetta Beck Gospel Experience every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. on khamradio.com.
You can hear your favorite gospel music every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time on the Alanetta Beck Gospel Experience, only on khamradio.com. Call 318-221-5422 for info.
Double your entertainment experience with the ZTE Axon M dual screens. Long press the TV mode button for entertainment on one screen and tap the mode key to use the other screen to order pizza or chat with friends. Choose mirror mode and flip it over to watch content together. Do more with two screens. Want to see more? Visit att.com/Axon M.
Welcome back to Louisiana Sisterhood Book Club, and as you know, we're here with Ms. Diana Cook Thomas, the authors I Cannot See the Azaleas, Crimes Against Women and Children. And Ms. Thomas, as we were leaving off, was telling us how important it is for us to keep domestic violence in the forefront, to let you know that it is very there, okay? And you say, what do you mean by very there? It's a hidden secret that starts in the home that spreads abroad. So, Ms. Thomas, you told us that we can find your book at Amazon.com. You also told us that you are available to speak to church group, activities, and all of that, schools, so that we will know that someone out there cares about us.
Exactly. And it's good to speak on such topics because children, they don't hear the topic. They don't hear domestic violence. They don't hear child abuse. All they know is they're being abused. And all they know is they see the violence in the home. They don't know that there's a topic or name behind it. And so they may think that it's okay that these type of actions are going on, but it's not okay, and they need to know that. So speak to the children, or parents speaking to the children, to talk to them about what's going on would be, what's needed. And it should not be going on. So if the child is going through anything, they need to be able to come to the parent to let them know that such and such a person is doing this to me, or it's a part of bullying. You can kind of incorporate that in the same conversation. While you're talking about bullying, talk to them about, well, you have any secrets that maybe you and I can talk about? Maybe it'll be our secret. And they'll open up and say, well, Uncle Johnny says not to tell anybody, it's our secret. Well, you can tell me, I'm your mom, what's going on? And they will open up to you, and you will learn a lot.
Yes.
You will learn a lot. And it shouldn't be a one-time conversation.
Exactly.
It should be a periodic conversation.
Exactly.
Like once every 2 weeks, once a month.
Yes.
Because the dangers are there. There are people out there that mean others no good.
That is true. That is true. So it's almost like a dinner time conversational piece. While you fixing dinner or while you preparing the table, hey, why don't you tell me what was your high for today or what was your low for today? You know, tell me what went on with you today. How did it go at work? You know, husbands are also interested in what's happening in their wives' lives because their wives do have to go to work. And so you're telling us these things to make us aware. So if we want this promotion and our boss said, well, you can have this promotion if you have dinner with me on a Thursday, or you come in my office and let me see what color garments you're wearing today. That is all unacceptable. You are very bright women, intelligent women, educated women, and women today, you know, like in Silicon Valley, we're breaking the ceiling. You know, that's why all of this is in the local news now. So to let us know that we are very powerful within ourselves, and we don't have to take this anymore. We can make it to the top based on our education, based on our knowledge, and that's a good thing.
And based on our experience at work.
Exactly.
We don't have to stoop to that level, at such a low level, to accept a job by having sex or by kissing or groping.
Yes.
We don't have to do that. You can make it to the top on your own, and when you do, you know that you worked hard to make it there.
Exactly. So, women, we're asking you to speak out. This will help you. You know one thing? You need to empower yourselves. And please invite Ms. Diana Cook-Thomas to speak to all your women groups. And, you know, as a 12-year officer of the Shreveport Finest, she can also help you with the laws to let you know that laws are being broken against you. Okay? And Ms. Thomas, you know one thing? We're so excited about you being on our show today. And by all means, you are welcome to come back anytime.
Thank you very much, and I'll take you up on that offer.
You know,
and I'd just like to say I commend you for the book and for thinking about others. And it was just awesome. I'm just so excited to meet you.
Thank you.
And you know, you are going to be one of our authors that is being featured as well, along with Miss Ann Anderson. Remember Miss Ann Anderson from last week, Butterfly Uprising? She also was a woman that empowered herself, and she spoke out. She spoke out by what? Putting pen to paper and telling her story. She was empowered by Miss Catherine Taylor Bowers. What? At a book club. What book club? The Louisiana Sisterhood Book Club. That's the book club. Yes. So you know one thing? We know where we can find Miss Diana Cook-Thomas. Tell us again your location.
My email address is DIANNAT as in Thomas 711 at AOL.com.
All this information will be on our show at the bottom of the page. By all means, read it, write it down, get in contact with her, and by all means, visit Amazon.com for what? I Can't See the Azaleas. Crime against women and children. Stop the domestic violence. Stop the crimes against your life. By all means. And you know, Ms. Thomas was telling us about the scriptures that are located in her book. It's also a faith-based book. So you know one thing? Knowledge is power. So definitely empower yourself. And with that, Miss Catherine Taylor.
Please don't perish because of lack of knowledge. God bless you.
And you know one thing? The scripture for today is Psalms 23, verses 1 through 6. The Lord is your shepherd, and you shall not want for anything. And God made you special. Remember that. And guess what? You know you never have a dull read here. Where? On Louisiana Sisterhood. So keep it here. and we'll see you next week. And this ends our fall 2017. So look forward to seeing us in 2018.
And we want to hear from you and what you've written.
And you know we're going to have a very special author, another one. So look forward to meeting our new authors as they come forward. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.